Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Code and Create. I hope you're all doing great and ready for another exciting part of our portfolio project. If you've been following along, you know that in the last part we brought the skill section to life with some awesome animations and interactivity. It was a lot of fun to see all those skills dynamically displayed, and I hope you enjoyed building it just as much as we did. Today we're moving forward and diving into something equally crucial, the review section. This is where we will showcase client testimonials and feedback, adding a human touch to our portfolio. But before I jump into today's work, I'd like to remind you to hit that like button if you're enjoying this series, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss upcoming parts and other tutorials. And don't forget to leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. We love hearing from you. Now let's dive into what we are building today. The review section is all about displaying user feedback in a dynamic and visually engaging way. Imagine visiting a website and being greeted by a series of positive testimonials that highlight the value of someone's work. That's exactly what we're going to create here. At the core of this section, we will build a carousel that smoothly transitions between different reviews, giving visitors a glimpse into what others think of our skills and services. Each review will be showcased with a profile image and the reviewer's name, their comments, and a star rating to add credibility. We will create a card-like layout where each review takes center stage in the carousel, while the previous and upcoming reviews are animated to scale down and rotate subtly, providing a sleek and professional look. This kind of animation adds a level of sophistication to our site and makes the reviews feel alive and interactive. Now, what makes this section really special are the animations we're going to implement. As you navigate through the reviews using the left and right arrows, you will see a smooth sliding effect where the current review transitions into view. We're going to control the animation direction as well, so that it feels responsive whether you're moving forward or backward through the reviews. We will use framer motion to handle all these animations, giving us a high level of control over the movement and the overall experience. So that's our plan for today. Let's dive right in and start building this awesome review section. As usual, the first thing that I'm going to do is to create new component in the components folder. It's going to be reviews.jsx. Then we have to create a new functional component using RAFCE shortcut. So here we have the new functional component. I'm going to get rid of this line of code, and then we need use client. I have talked about use client for several times in the previous part, so I'm not going to go through it right now. Next, we have to go to the page.js file and we have to import newly created reviews component here. Let's change the name of the component. We need reviews, and then we have to nest here reviews component. All right, if we go to the browser, then you'll find here text reviews. Let's go ahead and go back to the reviews component and create the content of the component. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Then we need heading, which we have used for several times. I'm going to add here text attribute, and it's going to be reviews. Then we have to import these components. We need heading from sub, and then we have to select heading component. If we go to the browser, you'll find here the reviews heading on the page. Okay, after that, I'm going to add here some more content. Let's open developments. Then inside the development, we need another div, then again another div. And now I'm going to insert here an image component, which we have used for several times throughout this project. As you remember, we have to add here a couple of different attributes. The first one is source. Right now, I'm going to insert here one of the images from the reviews folder. So we need here reviews, and then I'm going to select, let's check reviews folder. As you can see, we have here 5 different images of our clients. So let's select one of them let's say client 1.png. Then I'm going to add here alt attribute. It's going to be reviews image. And then we need width and height. The width is going to be 130 pixels. As for the height, I'm going to make it 130 pixels as well. Actually, we don't need pixels, just the number. So we have an error here because we have to import image component from next image. Now if we go to the browser, then we will actually the image, yes, here it is. So the image is displayed. Now we have to add other elements to our component. After image, I'm going to insert h1 heading elements. It's going to be the name of the client. Let's insert here Bob, then W, and then I'm going to add here lifestyle blogger. After that, I'm going to insert here paragraph, and actually I'm going to grab one of the paragraphs from our index.js file. I'm going to refer this file a bit later. Let's just grab this comment from here and add it inside the paragraph. Okay, after that we need div elements, in which I'm going to open span, and I'm going to insert here rating, let's say 4.5. Then after span element, I'm going to open div tag, and inside the div tag we need another span, and right now I'm going to insert here stars. We will replace this text with actual icons of the stars a bit later. After that, I'm going to insert here div elements, which will be the wrapper of the buttons. I mean the arrows, left and right arrows. Let's insert here button. Right now I'm going to insert here left, then duplicate this code and insert here right. Okay, so I think that's it about the content of our component. All the elements are created, and now we have to style those elements. Let's go ahead and start with the first one. I mean the first div element, add here class name. So for the first div element, we need vertical margin MY20, and then the horizontal padding PX 96. So as you can see, the space is created. Then I'm going to style this div element here. We don't need any styles for the heading. So here I'm going to create flex layout. We need flex. Then we have to change the direction of the flex layout. We need flex column. And then I'm going to center the content of this element using items center, and then we need justify center. All right, after that, I'm going to customize the next div elements. I'm going to add here width and height. The width is going to be 800 pixels. Let's use an arbitrary value. Then I'm going to define width for different breakpoints. For LG, we need width 600 pixels. Then for MD breakpoints, the width is going to be 95%. Then we have SM, and the width is going to be 280 pixels. After that, I'm going to define the height. Height is going to be 500 pixels. Then again, we need different breakpoints. LG, height is going to be 450 pixels. Then on MD breakpoint, we need height equal to 400 pixels. Next we have SM, and the height is going to be 600 pixels. After that, I'm going to define the flex layout. We need flex, followed by items center, and again we need justify center. Alright, so that's it about this div element. As you can see, the layout is slightly changed. Next we have another div element. So let's go ahead and add to this div element different classes. The first one is going to be position absolute, and then we need position relative for the parent element. I mean for this element here. Let's add the relative. Then I'm going to add here inset 0. So when we use inset, it means that we use here 4 different positions. I mean top, right, bottom, and left positions, and we set all of them to 0. Next, I'm going to use again flexbox. We need flex. Then we have to change the direction of the flex layout. It's going to be column. Then we need items center, and again justify center. After that, I'm going to create gap vertically. So we need here gap y7, and then I'm going to define gap for the smaller screen size. I mean for the LG breakpoint, gap is going to be 4. Okay, let's go ahead and add some more styles to these developments. I'm going to define border. Then the color of the border is going to be yellow 500. Actually, we need here yellow. Then I'm going to change the background color. Let's use Think 50. And finally, we need padding on all 4 sides. It should be 40. And also, I'm going to define padding for smaller screen size. I mean for LG breakpoint, padding is going to be 5. Alright, so as you can see, the review is styled. We have here nice and cool border with different background. Actually, we need rounded corners for the review, so I'm going to add here rounded, let's say XL. Alright, after that, I'm going to customize the image. So let's add here class name. Let's define width. It's going to be 130 pixels. Then we need the same height for the image. And actually, I'm going to use aspect square. So when we use aspect square, it means that the element will have the same height. And if we change the width, the height will be changed automatically. Next, I'm going to make the element rounded using rounded full. And then we need border. The color is going to be border yellow 500. Also, I'm going to add here padding 4. And finally, we need object contain. The object contain class in Tailwind CSS ensures that the image is resized to fit within its container while maintaining its original aspect ratio. This means that the image will scale up or down as needed, but none of it will be cropped or distorted. It's particularly useful when you want to make sure the entire image is visible within a specific area, regardless of the container size. By applying object contain to an image, you're telling the browser to adjust the image dimensions so it stays fully contained within the bounds you've set. So let's go to the browser. As you can see, the image is customized. Next, we have to take care of the heading and the paragraph. So let's go ahead and add class name to h1 heading element. I'm going to add here text to XL. Then we need smaller breakpoints, I mean MD, and the text is going to be XL. Next, we need text center to place the text in the center. Also, I'm going to create some space between the letters using tracking wider. And finally, change the color of the text. I'm going to use again text yellow 500. Actually 600. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, the name of the client is customized. Next we have the paragraph. I'm in the comments. Let's add here a class name. So first of all, I'm going to define the font size. We need text LG. Then for MD breakpoint, I'm going to set text to SM. Then we need text justify. Also, I'm going to change the font. Let's make it extra light. Next, we have tracking white in order to create some space between the letters. Then I'm going to change the color of the text. Let's use text gray 600. And finally, I'm going to create some indentation using first letter and padding left 2. Okay, so as you can see, the comments of the client is customized, and we have here nice and cool little indentation. After that, we have the rating and the star icons. So let's go ahead and customize this wrapper development. I'm going to add here flex. Next, I'm going to change the direction of the flex layout. We need flex column. Then I'm going to set items to center. Also, we need justify center, and let's create little vertical gap using gap, actually not vertical but horizontal, because we already changed the direction of the flex layout. So we need here gap y with a value 2. Next, we have span element. So let's add to the span element a couple of classes. We need text LG. Then font is going to be light. Also, I'm going to change the color of the text. Let's use again text yellow, 600. And then I'm going to add some space on the right side using margin right with the value 3. So as you can see, the rating is customized. Next, we have stars and then the buttons. So I'm going to add some classes to this development here. We need flex, then items, center. Then I'm going to create horizontal gap using gap x2. Also, I'm going to change the size of the text. Let's use text 2XL. And then change the color of the text. Use again text yellow, 500. Okay, so the stars are customized, and now we have to customize the buttons left and right. I'm going to add some classes to the development, which is the wrapper of the buttons. So we need flex layout, then horizontal gap using gap x4. Next, I'm going to change the size of the text. Let's use text 4XL. And then change the color. We need again yellow, 500. And finally, let's create some space at the top side using margin top, 5. All right, so that's it. All the elements are customized. And now that we have completed the structure and styling of the reviews component, it's time to make our code more dynamic by replacing some of the hard-coded data with the actual data from our index.js file. Let's go ahead and open it. By doing this, we will ensure that the component can easily accommodate changes or additions to the reviews without modifying the component itself each time. This approach not only makes our code cleaner and more efficient, but also allows for greater flexibility in managing our data. So here we have the data for our reviews section. The data includes an array of objects where each object represents a single review. Here is what we have. You can see image. Each review object contains an image property, which is a string representing the path to the reviewer's image. This is important for giving a personal and visual element to each review. Next, we have name. The name property stores the reviewer's name and title, like Mark T, freelance graphic designer. Including names and titles adds authenticity and context to each review, showing that these comments come from real individuals. Next, we have comment. This property holds the actual text of the review. Each comment is a string that provides detailed feedback from the reviewer, showcasing their experience. This is the core content of the review, offering insight into the positive impact of the work. Next, we have stars, which is an array of numbers. The numbers are typically 1 or 0.5, representing full and half stars. This array will be used to dynamically generate the star icons when we render the reviews. For instance, this array here will represent a 4.5 star rating, which will convert into visual star icons within the component. Additionally, we have two arrays, star icons and arrow icons. Star icons contains the star icon. The first array contains the star icons, which we will use to visually represent the review ratings. It includes a full star and a half star imported from Remix Icon React. Next, we have arrow icons. This array contains the arrow icons that will be used for navigating through the reviews. These are also imported from Remix Icon React and will help us add interactive navigation functionality to the section. By structuring our data this way, we can easily loop through the reviews data array to display each review dynamically. This approach keeps our component clean, flexible, and scalable, allowing us to make changes to the review data in one place without touching the component itself. Now that we have covered what's inside the index.js file, we are ready to use this data in our reviews component. I'm going to place index.js file on the right side, like so, and I'm going to close this sidebar here. We have to replace the hard-coded data with the dynamic one to make our review section flexible and maintainable. First, we need to import the necessary data and icons from our assets. This includes the reviews data array, which contains all the information about each review, such as images, names, comments, and star ratings. So I'm going to import reviews data from assets. Additionally, we bring in star icons and arrow icons to dynamically display the stars and navigation buttons. So I'm going to add here star icons as well as arrow icons. Next, we have to modify our JSX. Let's use the map function to iterate over each review object in the reviews data array. So right after here, I'm going to open curly braces and then I'm going to insert reviews data.map. Then we need a callback function with two parameters. The first one is going to be review. As for the second one, it should be index. So the map method takes two parameters. The first is the current item in the array, and the second one is the index of that item. In our code, the first parameter represents each individual review object, allowing us to access properties like the reviewer's name, comments, image, and stars. The second parameter provides the current index of the array, which is useful for assigning unique keys to each review block, ensuring that React can efficiently identify and manage each element in the list. Next, we have to grab the entire development and paste it inside the map function. So I'm going to grab this development from here and paste it inside the map function. This is how we create a review block for each item in the data. For each block, we have to assign a key to ensure that React identifies each element uniquely. So I'm going to add here key prop, and I'm going to insert here I. So within this block, we will dynamically insert the data. Right now, the image has hard-coded path, and we have to change it. So instead of this hard-coded path, I'm going to insert review.image. So by using this code, we are pulling this path from here. Next, we have the reviewer's name and also the comment. So instead of this hard-coded name, I'm going to insert here review.name, and then we need review.comment. So this change is crucial because it allows any updates in the data file to reflect instantly in our UI without needing to manually adjust the code. Let's go to the browser. So now we have here the dynamic data instead of the hard-coded one. We have image, name, and also the comment pulled from this file here. Now let's move on to calculating and displaying star ratings. We will use the reduce method on review.stars to sum up the star values. This method helps us dynamically calculate the rating based on the stars array for each review. In general, the reduce method iterates through an array, processing each element with a callback function to produce a single accumulated result. So here, instead of this hard-coded rating, I'm going to open curly braces and then insert review.stars.reduce. Then we need a callback function in which I'm going to insert two parameters, sum and item. The reduce method itself takes two parameters, a callback function and an initial value. And as an initial value, I'm going to insert here 0. So inside the callback function, we have two parameters, sum and item. The first parameter, sum, is the accumulator that stores the ongoing total. And the second parameter, item, represents each element in the array. As the method loops through the array, it updates the accumulator using the logic provided in the callback function. In our case, the logic will be following. We need to insert return and then sum plus equals item. After that, we have to use toFixed method with the value 1. In general, the toFixed method is used to format a number to a fixed number of decimal places. It converts the number into a string, keeping only the specified number of digits after the decimal point. Now, if we save and then go to the browser, you'll find here the accumulated sum of the stars, I mean the ratings, and we have 5.0. Actually, this review is the last one in the array. I mean this one here. As you can see, we have here David H. And you can see here David H. 5.0. We have here an array which consists of 5 items. Each of them is 1. Therefore, the total sum of those numbers is 5.0. We see here the last item because we use position absolute for each review, and that's why we see the last item. If we comment this item out, then we will get here the 4th item in the array. As you can see, we have here Bob 4.5, and if we check the 4th item, you will see here Bob, and the sum of these numbers is 4.5. All right. Now we have to dynamically render the star icons, and for that we will use the map method once again. The map method is perfect for this task because it allows us to loop through each element in the stars array of each review and create a corresponding star icon. Let's break down how this works step by step. So I'm going to open inside the development curly braces, and then we need here review.stars.map. Then we need a callback function with 2 parameters. The first one is going to be star. As for the second one, it's going to be I. So here we are mapping over the stars array in each review object. Each star element represents a part of the rating, which can be a full star represented by the value 1 or a half star represented by a different value like 0.5. The map method also provides an I parameter, which is the index of the current element in the array. We use this I later as a unique key for each span element. Next, we have to cut the span element from here and then insert it here. As you already know, we need here a key prop. So let's insert here key. And then we need I. After that, within the callback function, we have to use a conditional statement. So instead of this text here, I'm going to open curly braces. And then we need a conditional statement. The condition is going to be star equal to 1. If this condition is true, then we need star icons. And we have to select the first member. I mean, we need here index number 0. And if the condition is false, then we need star icons with the index number 1. So if we look at the star icons array, you will find here that we have 2 items, star fill icon and star half line icon. So if the star is equal to 1, then we choose the first icon, which is star fill icon, I mean the filled star. And if the condition is false, if star does not equal to 1, then we select the second half filled icon. All right, so let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here 5 icons, I mean 5 stars. Each of them is filled. Now, if we comment this array item and go to the browser, we will get here rating 4.5 and again 5 stars, but the last one is half filled. All right. So to sum it up, the map method loops through each star value. The ternary operator decides whether to display a full or half star, and the key attribute ensures that React can efficiently update the DOM when these elements change. This is how we dynamically generate the correct star icons for each review, making our rating system both flexible and interactive. Finally, we have to update the navigation buttons to use the arrow icons we imported earlier. Instead of using hard-coded text for these buttons, we will use the dynamic icons from arrow icons. So this will give the section a more polished and professional appearance, enhancing its overall look and feel. So first of all, I'm going to get back this array item. Then I'm going to get rid of this hard-coded text, and instead of left, I'm going to open curly braces and insert arrow icons. And then we need first item, so the index number 0. And the same thing we need for the right icon, I mean the bottom. We need arrow icons and the index number 1. If we go to the browser, then you will find here 2 arrows, left and right. Alright, so the review section now pulls all its content directly from the data file, allowing for quick and easy updates. If we ever need to add, remove or modify a review, all we have to do is to update the reviews data in the index.js file, and our component will automatically reflect those changes. This makes our code cleaner, more modular, and highly maintainable. Now that we have implemented the dynamic rendering of the reviews, all 5 reviews are actually being displayed in the component. However, as I already explained, because we've set the review containers to use position absolute, only one of them is currently visible. The others are all positioned directly behind the one that's currently in view, which is why we can't see them right now. Alright, now we're getting to the exciting part, making the carousel work for our review section. We'll break down this process step by step, ensuring that everything is clear and that we thoroughly test each part as we go along. The first part is setting up state and references. Let's start by managing which review is displayed. First, we use the useState hook to set up a state variable called index. So we need to create a new state variable. It's going to be index. Also, we need an updater function setIndex. And I'm going to set it to useState. And I'm going to insert here 0. As you can see, the useState hook is imported from React automatically. If you don't see here useState, then you have to import it manually, otherwise you will get errors. So we initialize index to 0, meaning the carousel will start by showing the first review in the array. Next we have to create another state variable, and it's going to be direction with its updater function setDirection. I'm going to set it to useState, and the default value is going to be false. So this variable helps us understand the navigation direction, whether the user is clicking the left or right button. This state is essential for triggering the appropriate animations based on the direction. So here in those 2 state variables, setIndex will be used to update which review is being displayed, while setDirection will manage the navigation direction. The Boolean direction will control whether we are navigating left or right. Next, we have to set up references. So I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it prevIndex, which should be equal to userref, and I'm going to set it to 0. Now we have to import userref from React. As you know, in React, userref is a hook that allows us to create a reference to a DOM element or a value that we want to persist across re-renders. Unlike state variables, changing a userref value does not trigger a re-render of the component. It simply provides a way to keep a mutable object tied to the life cycle of a component. When you call userref, it returns a JavaScript object with a single property called current. So here we are initializing a userref object and assigning it to the variable prevIndex. The initial value of prevIndex.current is set to 0. In other words, the current property of this reference is now holding the number 0. In our code, we need to keep track of the index of the previous review slide. This is essential for animating the slides correctly when navigating through the carousel. By knowing which slide was previously displayed, we can apply specific animations to move it off screen or scale it down as the new slide comes into view. We also have to create another userref called slides to hold references to each slide element. So we have to create a new variable. It's going to be slides. Then we need again userref, and I'm going to insert here an empty array. So here we are creating a reference object with an initial value of an empty array. This array will be used to store references to each slide element in the carousel. The slides reference object allows us to access all the slide elements directly in the DOM, making it easier to control animations and transitions with framer motion. During the rendering of the slides, we will push each slide element into the slides.current array. This way we will have a direct reference to all the slides. By storing these references, we can later manipulate each slide individually using functions like animate to control their movement or animations based on user interactions, like clicking the navigation buttons. Now, we have to add a reference to the div element inside the map function. So I'm going to add here ref, which will be equal to callback function with a parameter element, and we have to return slides.current.push, and we have to insert here element. So this ensures that each review slide is correctly stored in the slides reference array as it is rendered. Now let's break down this line of code and explain how it works. As you know, in general, the ref attribute is used to assign a reference to the DOM element rendered by React. Here we are using an arrow function as the reference callback. This is an arrow function that takes an element as an argument. During the rendering of each review component inside the map function, this element refers to the corresponding DOM node of that review. Here, slides is a reference object created using useref, which initially contains an empty array. This line pushes the newly created element into that array. This effectively builds an array of all the review components as they are rendered. Storing these references is essential because it allows you to directly manipulate each slide later, for example, when using the animate function to handle slide transitions. So, if we run to the console, slides.current, and if we go to the browser, inspect the page, and switch to the console tab, we will get here an array which consists of 5 review items. Alright, so in summary, by including this line in the map function, this line here, we ensure that every review element is stored in the slides.current array. This makes it easier to apply animations to specific elements in the carousel when the user interacts with the navigation buttons. In summary, this code allows you to reference each slide directly and control their animations, enhancing the carousel's functionality and user experience. Next, let's go ahead and handle the animations triggered when the user clicks the arrow buttons. We will use framer motion's animate method to create smooth transitions for the slides. We will define two functions, right-click handler and left-click handler. So let's go ahead and start with the right-click handler. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this line of code from here. So we need here an arrow function and then animate method. From framer motion, we have to import animate from framer motion. So the animate function in framer motion is a powerful tool for creating animations and transitions for DOM elements. It allows you to dynamically change the properties of an element, such as its position, scale, rotation, and opacity over a specified duration. The way it works is by taking in parameters that define the element to animate, the final state you want to achieve, and any additional options like delay, duration, and easing functions. Once it is called, animate smoothly transitions the element from its current state to the desired state using the specified animation properties. This function is particularly useful when you want to trigger animations in response to specific events such as clicks or scrolls, giving your application a more interactive and engaging user experience. Alright, so inside here I'm going to insert slides.current, then we need index. Next we need an object in which I'm going to insert x property with the value 0, and then we need another object with the delay property, and I'm going to insert here 0.3. So this line targets the current slide using slides.current index. Here, slides.current is an array of slide elements that we populated using the ref attribute in the mapping. By specifying slides.current index, we select the slide that needs to move into view. Then we have x0. It sets the horizontal position of the slide to 0, meaning it will be centered on the screen. Framer motion animates the element's transition to this new x position. The third parameter, delay 0.3, adds a delay of 0.3 seconds before the animation starts, creating a smooth transition effect. This slight delay makes the animation more dynamic and visually appealing. Next, we have to add here another animate function. So let's insert animate. The purpose of this function is to animate the previous review slide when navigating through the carousel. It adjusts the scale and rotation of the previous slide based on the current index. If the current slide is the first one, if the index number is 0, the scale remains at its original size and there is no rotation. Otherwise, it scales down the previous slide to create a zoom out effect, while adding a slight rotation depending on whether the slide index is even or odd. This gives a dynamic and visually appealing transition effect as the user moves through the reviews. So now I'm going to insert here slides.current. Then as the index, I'm going to insert prev index.current. Then we need objects in which we will have two properties. The first one will be scale. And here I'm going to insert a conditional statement, index equal to 0. If it is true, then we need 1. And if it is false, we need 0.4. Then I'm going to insert here second property, which is rotate. Again, we need here a conditional statement, index equal to 0. If it is true, then we need 0. And if it is false, then I'm going to insert here another conditional statement. We need index modulus 2 equal to 0. If it is true, then we need 10. And if it is false, then we need minus 10. So this code animates the previous slide out of view. It uses slides.current with index number prev index.current to target the slide that was previously displayed. Next, we have a scale property with a conditional statement. It checks the current index. If it is 0, we keep the scale at 1, its original size. Otherwise, we scale it down to 0.4, making it smaller and adding depth to the animation. Next, we have a rotate property with again a conditional statement. This property adds rotation to the previous slide. If index is 0, there is no rotation. If index is an even number, it rotates 10 degrees. If it is odd, it rotates minus 10 degrees. This alternating rotation creates a dynamic feel to the carousel. Alright, next we have to define the left click handler function to handle the left arrow click. So I'm going to create new function, left click handler. We need here an arrow function. Then again we need animate, in which I'm going to insert the following code. We need slides.current, then index. Next we need scale, which should be 1. Then rotate 0. And finally we need delay with the value 0.2. So this line animates the slide that's moving into view. It sets the scale to 1, returning the slide to its original size. The rotate 0 property resets the slide's rotation to 0 degrees, ensuring that the slide is upright and centered. The delay parameter adds a 0.2 second delay before starting the animation, providing a smooth transition. Next, we need, again, animate. With the following code, we need slides.current, then prev index, dot current. Then I'm going to insert here x with the value 100%. So this line moves the previous slide out of view by setting its horizontal position to 100%. This means it will slide to the far right of the screen. Okay, so by using these handlers, we create dynamic movements for the carousel when navigating left or right. Now let's go ahead and replace the main carousel container with motion div to introduce animations to the entire section. We wrap the div holding the reviews in motion div and add several attributes to control the animation. So I'm going to add here motion, and actually we need here motion. Then we have to import motion from framer motion, so we need here motion. And as I said, I'm going to add here a couple of different attributes. The first one is initial. It should be equal to opacity 0, and then we need x minus 200. This attribute sets the starting state of the animation. Here we set opacity to 0 and x to minus 200, meaning the container will start off screen to the left with no opacity. Next, I'm going to insert another attribute, which is while in a view, and it should be equal to opacity 1, and then we need x 0. This attribute defines the final state of the animation when the container enters the viewport. We set opacity 1 and x 0, making the container fully visible and centered on the screen. The next attribute is going to be viewport, and I'm going to make it equal to once true. By setting once to true, we ensure that this animation plays only once when the element comes into view, preventing it from replaying when the user scrolls away and back. And finally, we need here transition. I'm going to insert here duration, and it's going to be 0.4. This controls the timing of the animation. Here 0.4 specifies that the animation should last 0.4 seconds. Besides that, we need to ensure that the second div inside the map function is wrapped with a motion as well. So here I'm going to wrap these div elements with motion. This step is crucial because it allows us to animate each individual review as it enters or exits the viewport. By converting this div to motion div, we unlock the ability to control its animations using Framer Motion's powerful set of features. In this case, we have to use initial, and I'm going to insert here x with the value 100%. So this tells Framer Motion that each review card should start off the screen to the right, since we set the x value to 100%. When we later define the animate property or control animations using useEffect, we will move the review into the viewport. This initial attribute sets up the starting point for the animation, giving us smooth transitions and a dynamic user experience. Now, if we go to the browser, you will find that we no longer see here the reviews, and down below we have a scroll bar. So we need to get rid of this scroll bar, and for that we can simply add here overflow hidden. It is the container of the reviews. So if we check the results, then we will no longer have here the scroll bar. Now we need to use the useEffect hook to handle the slide animations when the index changes. I'm going to insert here useEffect. Then I'm going to check if it is imported. So as you can see, we have here useEffect. If you don't see here useEffect, then you have to import it manually, otherwise you will get errors. So I'm going to insert here the code, and then I'm going to explain everything. So we need here a callback function, and then we need a dependency array. So I'm going to insert here a conditional statement. We need direction. If it is true, then we need left click handler function, And if it is false, actually we need to call this function. If the condition is false, then we need right click handler. Besides that, I'm going to insert here prep index.current, and we have to update it to index. And finally, in the dependency array, I'm going to specify index. Okay, so now let's break down what we are doing here. The useEffect hook allows us to perform actions after the component has rendered. In our case, we want to trigger the animations every time the index changes, which is why we pass here index as the dependency array at the end. This tells useEffect to run its code block whenever the index value updates. Within useEffect, we have a conditional statement. This line checks the value of the direction state. If direction is true, it means the user clicked to navigate left, so we call left click handler function. Otherwise, if direction is false, we call right click handler. These functions are responsible for animating the current and previous slides in the appropriate direction. By including this conditional logic, we ensure that the slides animate in sync with the navigation buttons, providing a smooth transition effect. The next line is crucial. Prev index.current equal to index. This line updates the prev index reference to keep track of the previous slide's index. This step is important because when the user navigates through the carousel, we need to know which slide was active before the current one. By storing the previous index, we can properly animate the scaling and rotation of the previous slide, enhancing the overall carousel animation. Finally, the dependency array tells the useEffect to run whenever the index changes. This ensures that every time the user clicks the navigation buttons, our useEffect is triggered, controlling the animations accordingly. So this entire setup allows the carousel to animate dynamically based on user interactions, keeping the transitions smooth and in sync. Finally, let's go ahead and add the functionality to arrow buttons, allowing us to navigate through the reviews. So I'm going to insert here onClick event handler. Then we need a callback function. And I'm going to insert here the following code. We need set directions. Actually, set direction, not set directions, with the value true. And then I'm going to insert here set index, index -1. Now let's break down what's happening here in detail. So this onClick event handler is triggered whenever we click the left arrow button. Inside this function, we are performing two key actions. First, we call set direction and make it true. This line updates the direction state to true. Remember, we set up the direction state to control which animation should run when navigating through the slides. By setting direction to true, we are indicating that the user is moving left or backward in the carousel. This piece of information will be used later in the useEffect hook to decide which animation to trigger, the left click handler or the right click handler. Next, we have set index with the value index -1. This line is crucial as it updates the current index to the previous slide. Since index holds the number representing the currently active review, subtracting 1 from it moves us one step back in the reviews array. This change in index then triggers the useEffect we set up earlier, which will handle the animation to transition to the previous slide. So by combining these two actions, we ensure that when the left arrow is clicked, the direction is set appropriately and the index is updated to navigate to the previous review. The useEffect then listens to this change in index using the updated direction to perform the correct animation for this transition. This setup allows for a smooth and controlled slide animation every time the left button is clicked. Now, in the same way, we need onClick event handler for the right button. Actually, I'm going to grab this code and paste it here. So in case of right button, we need here opposite values. We need true. Actually, we need false. And then index +1. Let's go to the browser. So we don't see here the reviews. We might have some mistake. Let's check the code. So here everything seems to be, actually we need here scale, but I don't think that's the reason. So we have some typos here. We need scale, then rotates. Anyways, let's check the results. Now still we have the same problem. So in use effects, everything is correct. Let's go to the motion div. Yes, we have here a typo. We need camel case. Now I think it should work. And so what is that? Yes, everything works fine. Let's reload the page. Yes, everything works fine. All right. Now we're going to add some interactivity and functionality to our arrow buttons. Specifically, we are adding a hover effect that scales the arrows, as well as a mechanism to disable them when we are at the start or end of the reviews. This will improve the user experience by providing visual feedback and preventing unnecessary clicks. So let's dive into this step by step. First, we will work on disabling the left arrow button. We have to set up a ternary operator within the class name to check the current index. So let's go ahead and find the first arrow, the left arrow. So let's open class name. Then we need template literal, $, followed by curly braces. We need a condition index equal to 0. If this condition is true, then we need class name, opacity 30, and then pointer, events, none. And if it is false, then we need opacity 100. Actually, we need here quotes. And then pointer, events, auto. Now let's go to the browser. Click left arrow. As you can see, we reached to the first item and the arrow is disabled. Now we need the same thing for the second arrow, the right arrow. But before that, let's add hover effect to the left arrow. I'm going to add here hover scale 150 and then transition all. Now if we hover over the arrow, we will get here nice and cool hover effect. Okay, now let's disable the right arrow as well. I'm going to grab this class name. Let's paste it here. So we need to apply a similar logic to the right arrow button. However, instead of checking if the index is 0, we check if it is equal to the last item in the reviews data array. If we are at the last review, the button will become semi-transparent and unclickable. Otherwise, it remains fully visible and interactive. So here, instead of this condition, I'm going to insert reviews data.length -1. If this condition is true, then we need those classes, and if it is false, then we need those classes here. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go to the browser. Now go to the last review item. As you can see, the arrow is disabled. And the hover effect works for both arrows. Alright, that wraps up our work on the reviews section. In this part, we have taken the static reviews and transformed them into an interactive carousel. We replaced hard-coded data with dynamic values, created smooth animations using framer motion, and added functional navigation arrows with the hover effects. Now our review section looks polished, provides a great user experience, and adds that extra bit of flair to our portfolio. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up If you are new here or haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming parts of this series. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. In the next part, we will dive into building the project section of our portfolio. We will showcase our work using a sleek layout and add some fun animations to make it stand out. It is going to be exciting, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.